Good day and welcome to the Boston Online High School channel. In the fourth industrial revolution, there has been a major focus on the digitization of the workplace, which in turn increases the demand for technological skills in the labor force. However, in this new world of technology, there is a great need to marry both technological skills as well as more human soft skills, such as emotional intelligence and communication. Our guest speaker for today, Carike Verbooy. Thank you, Carike. She is the head of the Boston Media House in Sandton, and she will be talking about the benefits of instilling various soft skills in students from a young age. And she will also be diving into how these various skills will increase job opportunities and improve the way employees utilize their hard skills, which in turn increase levels of productivity. Thank you so much for joining us today, Carike.
Oh, thank you for having me. I look forward to discussing some soft or power skills with you today.
Great. So my first question for you is, what exactly are soft skills?
So I think to understand what soft skills are, you first need to understand what are hard skills. So hard skills are those specific competencies that you need to complete a job. So that would be, how do you operate a machinery? How do you record an interview?
Definitely.
Whereas soft skills are more those intangible competencies that you cannot directly observe, but that you need to interact with people, that you need to survive in the working environment, and to excel in the working environment. So then we're looking at things like communication, listening, teamwork, creativity, critical thinking. And unfortunately, a recent survey has been released from employers where they indicated that the students today do not have those soft skills anymore. And they feel that the reasons for that is that today's parents are more focused on protecting their children, then putting them out in the wilderness, letting them fail, and then learning valuable skills that they need later in life to succeed. So that is why we hear soft skills have become even more important within the fourth industrial revolution.
That's very interesting, actually. What would you say, what soft skills are important in the fourth industrial revolution? Or you could even give it maybe relevant to the industry that you are currently in.
So we know that the big fear with the fourth industrial revolution is that robots is going to take over everything. And a recent World Economics Forum survey has revealed that the number one skill that a robot can never ever have, that a human being has, is creativity.
Oh, for sure.
We have creativity, robots do not. Also emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is the ability to interact with people, but to also read people, to read those subtle cues that they're not saying. And a robot has to be programmed to do that. They have to be in a situation before to be able to respond to it. And robots don't have it. You know, we call it big data. Robots need so much information to be able to respond. And the robots aren't there yet. So, fourth industrial revolution, they say the new hard skill is the old soft skill.
Sure.
And that's why we don't speak about soft skills anymore, we speak about power skills.
Okay, that's interesting. So would you say, what about leadership? Skills like leadership, teamwork, critical thinking skills, how would that fall into play? And even diplomacy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so we can summarize the soft skills that we need in 8 basic categories.
Okay.
Communication, obviously how you talk, but also how you listen. So active listening. Not just hearing what a person is saying, but active listening. Then positive work ethic and responsibility.
Okay.
Because employers would rather employ a person that is positive and that is eager than a person who is always late for work, doesn't complete tasks. So a positive work ethic and responsibility is important. And that you can also find in a leader. You don't have to be a leader of a company to already have leadership skills. And a positive work ethic is part of that.
Yes.
Then you also have problem solving. A robot can only solve a problem if it has seen it before, where a human being has the ability to look at a problem and say, okay, I can use a little bit of this that I've used before. Oh, wait, I can ask this one to help me. Then flexibility. We have seen with COVID-19 that a situation can change so quickly. And you need to be able to adapt. And if you want to work in the future, you need to be able to be flexible. Then self-education. That is why it's very important, if you are a parent, to not discourage those why questions. Why why? Because that shows that your child has a critical mind, is asking why is something happening. And we see that in the adults where they want to further themselves. You can't today go into a working world and expect your company to teach you everything, or to say to you, oh, you need to go and study now. You need to have that desire within yourself to further your studies, or not to go necessarily for formal studies, but these days we have platforms such as Masterclass. You have various short courses that you can do online, which can keep you up there with the people. Then professionalism.
Definitely.
So that is, we hear a lot from the old people, is they say today's youngsters do not have professionalism. Do you know that you mustn't check Facebook during your working hours? Use your internet only for the work. Do you know how to dress appropriately? So that is also important. Customer service, and then teamwork. Because, and it's the one thing we all complain about, is how do you work in a team? But that is important, because with that, you are practicing your communication skills. You're also practicing your problem-solving skills, because not everybody in the team is always going to agree.
Definitely.
And if you have a team that always agrees with you, there is a problem. Because are the other people keeping quiet because they don't want to have conflict? And then are you losing out on a great opportunity because you're not giving a voice of dissent, an opportunity to say, listen, this is not going to work. And then when you put all those opinions together and you listen to each other, you could perhaps come to an even better product or a better solution.
Yes, exactly.
So
listening is also very important soft skill. Negotiating, not just with external people or parties, with amongst each other as well. Listening to what your team members say, and coming and analyzing the situation and trying to figure out what is the best going forward. And that's why it's also important to create a safe environment if you are in a leadership position for your employees, so that they have the freedom to speak out.
And as a parent, I always say, talk about controversial topics. Don't be scared of it.
Don't be scared.
Because sometimes, as a parent, you're like, oh, I've heard all this drama about the program Squid Game. Obviously, your teenager knows what Squid Game is. And then you're like, no, you can't watch it. Oh, it's too violent, you know. But actually, have a debate with them. Have a debate with them on the topic.
Why do you think it's violent, Mom or Dad? And tell me why. What do you ask them? What is your opinion on this? What do you think is good? What do you think is bad? What should we look out for? What are the life lessons that you can learn from it? And like you said, we're going back to automation and robots and all of that. They do not contain those soft human skills that we have. And as you said, they are programmed to only understand certain situations. With humans, every single day we face a new situation, a new event, and we just have to learn to take a step back, analyze the situation, and think of the best way to go forward. And that doesn't necessarily mean by ourselves, it means as a team. And in the corporate or the business world, that is so important, teamwork. And it's not just about you or me improving myself or being the best I can be alone in my company, but how can we take our company from here to here together? And that's why teamwork is so important as well.
Yes, definitely. And it's interesting to see how some people are struggling with that aspect again, because COVID has forced us to work in isolation. So, it's this new skill set where combining technology with communication to achieve great teamwork. And that's why, yes, we all do complain if kids are stuck at the iPad or, on gaming, but even playing online games is a good way to learn how to communicate via technology, because they sit with their headphones, so they need to communicate with their partners on their team. And instill that, do it that way, then instead of doing it the old-fashioned way. So trying to embrace the new with the old is very important.
Very important. How would you say, like as a practical example, now with the move, with COVID and all of that, a lot of, we can't really hold meetings as we used to. What can you give, what practical example can you give on how to improve that? How can we still maintain that sense of teamwork and communication in our business world's environments?
So something which even happens here by us is we like to switch the camera off when we have meetings because of data and because a lot of us are doing other work when we're in the meetings, let's be honest. And if you are a leader at times, you actually need to force that face-to-face interaction. because that you can see each other.
And see
And
the
that
engagement.
you can read each other. And now that the lockdown restrictions are at a level 1, there is an opportunity to hold small meetings face to face. And you actually need to enforce that again if possible, just so that people are able to interact with each other.
Definitely.
There are also spaces online where you can have breakout, like little breakout sessions. And they say it's just like having a virtual coffee cup with your friend, you know?
Yes.
So I think it's also important, yes, to have that formal meetings, but you must still also have informal sessions,
Yes.
you know, because in that way you can sort of build your team spirit again.
Definitely.
But it's
so good,
important to have a combination of both. That's why the big companies are forcing their people slowly but surely back to the office.
And I think for those who are not yet at that stage of, you know, everyone's in the same room, and also for companies, you know, you've got employees all over the company. So if I'm working with someone that's in Cape Town or Durban or even maybe overseas, we still have to stick to virtual. So
Correct.
I think encouraging them to switch on the camera, maybe at least, you know, that at least improves, you know, seeing each other, how we engage, how we perceive what we're all talking about, and all of that. So that's at least an option in the virtual sense. Okay, so so can you mention a few ways that we can develop these power skills in students from a young age?
So I think you need to look at what activities are available to help develop those skills at the school. So is there a debate team?
Yes.
Is there a soccer team? Is there a concert being held? And try to, if you know your child, you say, okay, well, you are a musical child. So perhaps let's try out for this choir. It might not even be part of the school, but it might be part of the community or in the church, because those opportunities helps the child to develop. So it's not necessarily just the school, but even in the community. Just try to look for those opportunities, whether it's choir practice or debating, or even taking a chance and taking part in youth modeling competition. You know, I don't advocate that, but just that opportunity to engage already helps to develop the soft skills. Then mentoring. Look for a role model. You know, your role model does not just always have to be a celebrity. Your role model could also be somebody that you see yourself in a future career. So if you want to be a lawyer, why don't you look around and see, you know what, there's this great lawyer that I've heard of, Emma Sadler, she's a social media lawyer. I think that's something I'm interested in. Perhaps take the opportunity, tell your child, reach out to her. Why don't you go and spend an afternoon with her? Or just become an old pen pal. You know, we can these days, it's so easy to get somebody's email address, you know, just to exchange an email. So because it's important that a child has somebody they can look up to, because they eventually role model that behavior. So the parent must also becomes the role model for the child. So if you want them to resolve conflict in a positive manner, then you must resolve conflict in a positive manner. Then not force them, but encourage them to participate in a team activity. So team activity can be sport, but it can also be cultural, or it can be also be more actual, like a debating team. Once again, that helps with the conflict resolution, problem solving, communication. And then you also need to look at a creative endeavor. So when we talk about a creative endeavor, it's music, it is acting, drama. They say that if you engage in a creative activity, you are opening up pathways in your brain.
That's so true.
So you don't need to become a musician, but you're opening up pathways. And if you, I don't know if you had music as a child, but if you had music as a child, you immediately know you have to have self-discipline, because you need to go and practice that instrument every single day, you know, and we never like to hear it, but music also helped us with maths. You know, and it does, it proves itself. So creative endeavors has been proven to help children to become more critical and become more creative later in life.
That's so true. And I think if we look at the online environments, I know with Boston Online High School, we have some extracurricular clubs, such as we have a chess club, a journalism club, a radio hour club, and we also do student support sessions. And I was reading some of the students' testimonies, and they were just, because obviously there's been a big shift towards online learning for various reasons, COVID being one of them. And I think just in the fourth industrial revolution, a lot of students are wanting to have more of that independent or adaptive, flexible, timetable. So I think we've just tried to create pathways that make socializing, easier for them. And for instance, why student support is so important as well, encouraging character building. And I liked your idea of a debate club and all of that, playing games where they have to interact and debate and be diplomatic with each other and introduce various cultures. I know that's something that the Cambridge curriculum does as well, so that they can understand not just their own world, but the world outside.
Yes.
And I was actually, one student said they played a game called the Ambassadors Game. So they each had to represent a country. And so they had to learn something about this country that they were given from the student counselor. And they had to then speak or basically present this country in front of all the students without saying what the country is.
Yes.
So then they are representing that country. So things like that I think are very good. And at the end of the discussion, it's like, so what form of government does this country have, and what is their culture, what food do they like, all sorts of things like that. So I thought, incorporating things like that, it also just gives a positive energy, a positive attitude and outlook towards not just your own culture, but cultures outside as well.
100%.
So yeah, I think, it's just incorporating soft skills again.
Exactly.
Just like the diplomacy as well, negotiating.
Correct.
Which are so important, not just in the corporate environment or tertiary education, but everyday life and with our families as well. Wouldn't you agree?
No, 100%. And I always say, the world is your oyster. And one of the biggest critiques against American and British children is that they only know their little small town. And, there's always that sort of urban legend. We have lions walking in the street of South Africa. And we ourselves are sometimes guilty of it because we think everything is bigger and better in America, So I think one needs to always be open, always be critical, and encourage that from a young age.
Definitely. Carike, thank you so much for being with us today. Your words, you gave such wise words of wisdom. And I hope you guys all enjoyed this webinar channel today, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you.